From the Sylvan Theater in Washington, D.C., we salute the millions of our American veterans.
And here are the real people, our host, Sarah Cassell. Byron Allen. Skip Stevenson. And our man from right here in Washington, D.C., Mark Russell.
We're pleased to be able to be here to celebrate Veterans Day.
For many years, television has ignored Veterans Day, and some servicemen felt that the media has done as much for the veteran as Liz Taylor has done for designer jeans.
Oh, can we talk? Now, what better place to salute the American veteran than right here in Washington, D.C.?
The Congressional Medal of Honor is the highest award this nation can bestow upon its wartime heroes.
The recipients of this award are those who have performed such outstanding deeds of courage and bravery at the risk of their own lives that most of these medals are awarded posthumously.
This is the courtyard of the Pentagon. It's kind of quiet here today, but recently, this was the scene of a very impressive event commemorating an almost unbelievable story of courage and bravery. This is retired Master Sergeant Roy P. Benavidez, a man who has spent a lot of time as a patient in military hospitals. Roy is one of the Army's most decorated enlisted men, as well as a proud Mexican-American who has devoted 25 years in service to this country.
Sure, it's a pleasure meeting you.
The men here are honored by his visit because to anyone in the military, Roy Benavidez is a living legend. He's the last soldier to have earned this nation's highest award, the Congressional Medal of Honor. Roy's background is not one of a West Point graduate. He was born and raised in Texas, the son of a poor Mexican sharecropper. At the age of 17, he joined the Texas National Guard with the dream of one day becoming a member of the Special Forces. It took 10 years, but in 1965, he earned his badge of courage and won the right to wear the Green Beret. During a combat mission in Vietnam in 1965, Roy Benavidez stepped on a mine. Doctors told him he would never walk again.
You know, I stayed so long in the hospital, and I was in a damn wheelchair. But I proved to him, and doctors do make mistakes sometimes. Not too many, but with Benavidez, they made a mistake.
At night, he would slip out of his bed in the hospital room and then crawl across the floor and prop himself up against the wall just to exercise his toes. Well, the other patients would make bets on how far he would crawl. He crawled out of this hospital room and back to Vietnam and a place in American military history. When Roy returned to Vietnam, he immediately went back into combat. On the morning of May 2nd, 1968, a 12-man Green Beret team was inserted by helicopter in the dense jungle area west of Loc Minh, Vietnam, to gather intelligence information about confirmed large-scale enemy activity. This area was controlled and routinely patrolled by the North Vietnamese Army. After a short period of time on the ground, the team met heavy enemy resistance and requested emergency extraction.
They were screaming on the ground that they were about to be overrun. So, without hesitation, Roy Benavidez, which wasn't supposed to be in there at all, he jumped on, he got his weapon and jumped on one Officer McKibben's helicopter. He didn't want me to go. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going in with you. I'm going to get him out."
That's when Roy went in, and that helicopter got shot down. It was on the ground. The pilot was killed, and the helicopter flipped.
Prior to reaching the team's position, he was wounded in his right leg, face, and head. Despite these painful injuries, he took charge, repositioning the team members and directing their fire to facilitate the landing of an extraction aircraft and the loading of wounded and dead team members.
And, hey, there was no turning back. Either fight, doggone it, or die right there. And I was going to fight to let them in I had.
Roy made 3 trips to the perimeter, carrying wounded men back to the waiting helicopter. As he knelt over a bleeding comrade, he was hit in the back of the head by the rifle butt of an enemy soldier. In the ensuing hand-to-hand combat, he sustained additional wounds to his head and arms before killing his adversary.
But hell, I was shot up so damn many times already, and I was so hurt that I just grabbed it. I said, it's either me or you now, buddy.
He made one last trip to the perimeter to ensure that all classified material had been collected and destroyed and to bring in the remaining wounded. Only then, in serious condition from numerous wounds and loss of blood, did he allow himself to be pulled into the extraction aircraft. For Roy Benavidez, this moment was the proudest of his life. But unbelievably, it had been 13 years for him to receive the Medal of Honor. Those intervening years had been filled with pain, anguish, and despair. His wounds forced him into an early retirement, and the constant pain made it impossible for him to find other work. As we got involved with this story, we were overwhelmed by Roy's courage and yet bewildered why it had taken so long for him to receive his medal. We were shocked when we discovered the full truth about Roy's mission and the real reason for his lack of recognition.
I do know that we were in Cambodia, and at the time in 1968, we weren't supposed to be in Cambodia.
And so there was a long period of time that the military really didn't ever recognize the fact that, or the American government, that we had the battle that Roy was involved in was ever fought.
And so it took years, but Roy, with help from his many supporters, was finally able to locate the last living eyewitness, a veteran named Brian O'Connor, who had been residing in the Fiji Islands.
And there was O'Connor. And we started talking, and he said, I just wrote a statement to the Armed Forces Subcommittee about you. He says, I'm sorry it took this long to find me.
And so on February 24th, 1981, in the outdoor courtyard of the Pentagon, President Ronald Reagan placed the coveted medal around Benavidez's neck.
I wanted to salute my commander-in-chief, and this would be the last salute. And then when he hugged me, and he embraced me, and our eyes start getting misty, and boy, our heartbeats were pounding. No, it was just something that, you know, an American, the love of country and fellow men.
Roy feels that the honor of receiving the medal carries with it a great responsibility. To that end, he has traveled to schools all over this country to meet with and speak to the people he calls the future leaders of this nation.
When you were running through there getting shot and everything, did giving up ever run through your mind?
Giving up?
When you were in all that pain and everything?
No, honey.
You never?
An American never gives up. It is the veterans, and especially the wounded ones, that pray for peace most of all, because they have to suffer the wounds of war. I hope that you will never have to experience what I or my other buddies have experienced in combat or in any kind of war. We'll be peace with one another. And remember, we're all Americans. Thank you very much.
Roy now receives the applause and appreciation he feels is deserved by so many of the Vietnam veterans who were never recognized for their sacrifices. On this day, May 14th, 1983, his hometown of El Campo, Texas, turned out to honor him.
There will never be enough paper in this country to print the money, nor enough gold in Fort Knox for me to have to keep me from doing it all over again to serve my country, because I live for duty, honor, and power. To me, as long as I can move, as long as I can breathe, I'm going to do what an American should do. It's to show off and show that you're an American.
Roy Benavidez is a fighter. He had to fight his way from the poverty of the barrio. He had to fight his way through a brilliant military career. and then he fought for and finally gained the recognition he deserved. Today, Roy Benavidez is still fighting. Less than 2 years after receiving the Congressional Medal of Honor, Roy was informed that due to cutbacks, his Social Security disability benefits were to be terminated. To find out more about this, Real People set up a meeting for Roy, his wife, and 3 children at the White House to discuss the problems of veteran benefits for Roy and other disabled servicemen.
Well, even though President Reagan isn't here, he did want you to know that he hasn't forgotten what you did for your country, that he's determined you're not going to be left out in the cold. There are plenty of folks out there who can and will pitch in if any help's needed. And when your country needed your help, you gave it without a second thought and almost gave your life. And now, if you need any help, President Reagan's going to do all he can to make sure you get it.
Roy surprised everyone in the White House when he turned down the offer of help from the private sector.
I can't accept from him or the private sector. I just want what I am entitled to. Those same people that are denying this benefit of ours, they're living free at the expense of my buddy's life, at the expense of our blood, of our limbs. Yet they're enjoying freedom, but they are denying us our benefits.
Well, we're going to work with the Congress if that's what...
Roy continued to explain that his concern was not to get charity from the private sector for himself, but rather the reinstatement of benefits for the thousands of other disabled veterans who have also served their country. And Roy kept on fighting. Shortly after our visit, a congressional investigation was called, and he went to Capitol Hill to testify.
If my comrades and I are denied the benefits that we deserve, then I ask one last favor, to please kneel and join me in prayer that God save this republic for bureaucratic blundering.
Roy won this round as he regained his disability benefits, but he continues to fight for the thousands of other veterans who served and sacrificed for their country. Ladies and gentlemen, here with his family, Sergeant Roy Benavidez.